No one is sponsoring this video. This app was purchased by me, but if you'd like to support me, you can go check out my LUTs and my presets over on my website. By now, you should know where the link is located. Now, this app in particular helped me take my iPhone footage and turn it into cinematic footage that I actually use at weddings. And if you want to see 3 examples of what I mean, there is a link in the description of 3 polished videos that I completed at weddings just using my iPhone. And so if you'd like to check that out, go ahead so you can see the field-tested proof of what I'm about to talk about. Now, one of the reasons I really genuinely like this app is because of the exposure settings that I'm able to actually utilize on the camera on this phone. On the typical camera app, you don't really have access to these settings that you're about to see on this app. But because of this app, it actually kind of unlocks a whole different set of tools that you can actually use to turn your footage from your iPhone into more of a cinematic quality. Now, here's my quick go-to setup. First, lower the ISO settings. Bring that down as much as possible. I like to shoot in a lot of natural lighting, a lot of sun coming through, all those types of things. And so typically my subject is already well lit with the way that I like to shoot things. So lower the settings all the way. I want to set the right white balance. So there's obviously an auto white balance feature on here. You can utilize that. I try not to leave it on auto ever, because if I'm moving the camera around, I don't want the white balance to be changing every time I change directions. I want it to be consistent based on the light source that I'm using in that particular setting. And then I will adjust the shutter speed. I forget what the rule is, but obviously I like shooting at 30 frames per second, so I'm going to keep it at 60. One of the ways you can do that and achieve that very easily is by using ND filters. Another video altogether coming your way, but ND filters definitely help with that. So as ISO, so first I'll change the ISO, drop it all the way down, adjust my white balance so that it is properly exposed, and then manage the shutter speeds to what I typically use. And then the last thing is set the focal length. After the first 3 are set, the focal length just becomes more of a preference thing, just more stylized things, just to get different angles and to tell the story in different ways. This app truthfully helps me get, I would say, cinematic footage 95% of the time. The 5% that I struggle in a little bit is whenever, like at night, I'm shooting with very low light situations. Like at a wedding, for example, there may be lights scattered throughout, but there's not a dedicated source that I would be using whenever I bring out the phone. And so you'll see a lot of that graininess in there. I usually use that to my advantage whenever I want to make a film feel more gritty. So the whole film would have been looking like that already. And then by the time I get to that 5% of the time when I can't hit that cinematic smooth feeling, I lean into that graininess, and so it looks intentional. So 95% of the time, I can pretty much get cinematic footage just using these settings on this app. So I guess the key takeaway in that regards is just use a lot of light. And if you don't really have a whole lot of light, have a concentrated light source, maybe where the subject is hovering around, a lamp, a lantern, just one dedicated source. That will give you all the light you need. I guess what I'm really talking about is, like, if you're truly recording in a setting where there's just no real lighting of any sorts, it's not going to have the dynamic range to cut through that. When I pair the conditions that I shoot in and the settings that I just briefly talked about in this app, and I pair them with my LUTs, the quality of the film has been really enjoyable to color with. And so if you want to support me, if you want to take a look at that, check that out. That's a great way to support me, and it just pairs really well with this app and the settings that you can set. Now, this app particularly works really, really well when you pair it with this other app that I did a review of, so feel free to check it out. This helps me nail this app particularly helps me nail my lighting conditions every single time, and I've been very pleased with the results. And then it pairs really well with this iPhone filmmaking kit that I also reviewed. Feel free to check that out as well. It stabilizes my shots. It gives me all the crispy, buttery, smooth images that I want in any film. And again, all with the use of an iPhone. You do not have to spend crazy amounts of money on a professional filmmaking set.